We waited over a decade for the Clipse to return. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Clipse just gave us an album that isn't nostalgic rap. It's refined, razor sharp, and almost religious. The Thornton brothers are back like they never left. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your man Lighthouse, and you're now tuned into another episode of Everything for Everybody, and you know we had to do it. We gotta talk about this new Clipse album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. First and foremost, thank you guys. We needed this. We needed this, all right? We needed this. I'm super excited, all right? The Clipse is back. Not just back for the sake of vibes, but back with intention, cohesion, and legacy on their minds. Let God Sort 'Em Out is more than a comeback. It's a statement of survival, a craft honed by time, and two brothers who found different versions of redemption but still rhyme like their lives depend on it. The album opens with Birds Don't Sing, and let's just say it might be one of the most emotionally resonant joints they've ever made. John Legend's hook opens up the floodgates. Pusha had a very poignant verse that honestly made me tear up. I'm my mother's youngest son, and I lost my mom some years ago, and the pain is still there. This song had me thinking about my moms, you know what I mean? And like, losing your parents is tough. Push said, lost in emotion, mama's youngest, trying to navigate life without my compass. Like, bro, that's how y'all gonna start the album? Just tear-jerking like that? Come on, man. Malice also delivers a heart punch as well, helping to excel the sentiment of pain that both brothers feel. The song Birds Don't Sing is a tearful tribute to their parents that turns grief into gospel. Malice raps, you live for our fishing trips, damn I had a dad. And that makes me thankful that I still have my father. Since I lost my mom, you know, this is my only parent, so I try to do my best to communicate with him and try to soak up as much game and speak to him and just try to be as helpful as possible, because you have to honor your parents, you know? Then this song ends with a soundbite from Stevie Wonder himself telling us to love on our parents. Emotionally, this song is a lot if you've been through it. Usually you would expect this to be at the end of an album, but the fact that they lead with it is interesting and impressive. It's rare to bleed this much humanity, especially to start off your album after being away for 16 years. Instead of circumnavigating the pain, they approach it immediately head on like men. And yet, just one track later, they pivot clean into chains and whips. This is Clipse flexing that ice cold precision they're famous for. Pusha aims directly at the insufferable Jim Jones with a whispery, venomous chastisement, while Kendrick Lamar joins in like a silent assassin, lyrical, brutal, and just as tenacious as the occasion calls for. It's not a diss track, it's a display of lyrical excellence. Over a sparse beat that's just bass, a kick drum, organ stabs, and a dangerous washed out guitar, it sounds like a gruesome showdown in the Wild West. The perfect sound bed for K-Dot to wow the fuck out, especially with them schemes that he had towards the end of his verse. The whole verse, he just floated on that, you know what I mean? So shout out to them. This was an excellent utilization of a collaboration. Guns is blazing, like they did their respectful by honoring their parents in the beginning. After they address what they need to address, they get right into the fuck shit. Production-wise, Pharrell is back in his mad scientist bag. While there's no Neptune's tag team this time, Chad Hugo's no longer a part of the creative process, Pharrell still gives the Thornton brothers wide open spaces to carve their legacy into. Tracks like So Be It float with Middle Eastern textures, while FICO sounds like your credit score got wrapped in cocaine-dusted horns and a heart-thumping, bouncy drum pattern. Stove God Cooks devours that feature. I actually would have liked for him to actually do a verse, but I think there's room for them to actually collaborate in the future, you know, because this was such a, you know, excellent display, especially it being the hook, you know, and I was excited to hear this and it didn't disappoint, you know. I just would have wanted a verse, but a verse didn't happen. We got what we have, and I'm not mad at it. But this album isn't about good rapping. It's about duality. Faith versus fame, prayer versus paranoia, past sins versus present clarity. Malice might have walked the righteous path years ago, but he doesn't abandon the realities he's lived through. On POV with Tyler the Creator, Malice spits the kind of romance bars that come from years of spiritual meditation and street-worn wisdom. Tyler's verse is raw, aggressive, and subtly pointed. It feels like a torch passing moment between eccentric outlaws, or like older cousins letting their younger cousin pick up the joystick so they can play the game together. On MTB TTF, short for Mike Tyson Blow to the Face, this song brings back the classic Clipse bounce with updated insight. They're older, sharper, more patient, less flex for the blogs, more surgical strikes on legacy, more we do this shit because we love the culture and we can, and less of we doing this because we have to. Like, do y'all remember that? Like when you would see a track listing for an album and you're just wondering like, oh my God, I wonder what they're gonna say. I wonder what these collaborations are gonna sound like. I wonder what the production's gonna be like. You know, Pharrell is one of my favorite producers of all time. So the fact that I know that he's going into this solely by himself, I know it's like a tough task, but like he's a genius. He's able to do it, you know. Of course, we all like want the Neptunes to get back together, but whatever issues that they have, you know, it's out of the public eye, you know, in terms of the details. It's none of our business, and we just have to accept what is going on with them. You know, hopefully they can make it back together, and it could be a kumbaya in the future, and we can get the things that we want. That's not the reality that we are faced with right now. You know what I'm saying? We just have Pharrell and we have the Clipse, and they held it down, man. They held it down. And I remember just looking at the track listing and seeing Birds Don't Sing, Chains and Whips, POV. I saw a bunch of like acronyms. You know, I know POV means point of view, you know, and then there's So Be It, there's Ace Trumpets. I'm like, what the hell is Ace Trumpets? And that's just really just the biggest Ace of Spade bottle that you can get or whatever, right? So, you know, we're talking about celebration. We're talking about trophies here, you know what I mean? And we're talking about a different taste level, right? Then you have All Things Considered. Then you have MTB TTF, which is Mike Tyson Blow to the Face. Now, I didn't know what that was until I heard the song, you know? But then we also had EBITDA, right? Now, I didn't know what EBITDA was, you know, and I was trying to figure it out, and I thought EBITDA meant like every brick I touched did amazing, you know? So I'm thinking like they on some drug dealing shit, like, yo, listen, every brick I touched did amazing. But it's actually, let's look it up. EBITDA actually stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Amortization, right? Yep. So EBITDA is what they say. It's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization is an accounting indicator that measures a company's overall financial performances. It shows how much a company earns from its core operations before accounting for interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization expenses. EBITDA is often used to evaluate a company's profitability and operational efficiency, making it a key metric for investors and analysts. So, you know, these guys are talking money. These are terms that, you know, the layman probably wouldn't understand. I mean, I didn't know about this, you know what I mean? But it makes sense if you have business and you're getting investors and shit like that, or you're trying to expand, you know, they probably want to see your worthiness, you know? And then you have FICO, you know what I mean? Which is like let's look up FICO. You know, I mean, I know what FICO is, but then, you know, what does it mean? FICO stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation, which is a data analytics company primarily known for developing the FICO score. The FICO score is a type of credit score that is widely used by lenders to evaluate the credit risk of a borrower. It helps determine the likelihood that a person will repay the debts. FICO scores range from 300 to 850. With higher scores indicating better credit worthiness. So when you think about all of the brick talk and like, you know, if you're good in the streets, you know, I'm sure people in the streets have to check your credit worthiness too if they want to front you something, you know. I mean, I have no idea about how drugs work, you know what I'm saying? I do not listen. I listen to this music. I love the music. It's all for entertainment purposes, but I'm sure if you go to somebody, you know, they give you some credit and they can work with you a little bit and you have to pay that shit back. The consequences are probably more extreme if you don't pay them back, but you know, these are things that you have to consider when you're dealing in the drug trade, you know? So that was definitely a flip and very a genius, you know. It's like there's a lot of layers and nuances here at play, and that was very clever. And that's the song that has Stove God Cooks, which, you know, we was digging the hook, you know what I'm saying? And we was digging, you know, we wanted more, but you know, it's whatever. Inglourious Basterds is one of my favorite movies by Quentin Tarantino, you know what I mean? Then there's So Far Ahead, which is probably my favorite song because of the 6/8 time signature that Pharrell uses. And it's just like, this song is very ill because it has this contrasting type of vibe to it where you have the churchy, heavenly sounding song. It's like a mirage. Like you see all this beautiful shit that Pharrell's singing, right? He sounds great, and it's like, it sounds like he's in church. And then when the verses come in, that shit just sounds like someone slapped you and you're just in the middle of hell. You're getting hellfire of just bars, and like, this shit is just crazy, you know what I mean? So that's one of my favorite songs. That song, and also Chains and Whips, man. The choke my neck and ice out my bitch. I love that shit, man. That's my shit. I love this album, man. What's that? The joint with Nas is fire. Let God Sort Them Out in Chandeliers, crazy, you know, and By the Grace of God. One thing I could say is that the Clipse have always maintained their relationship with God, from even Lord willing, you know, everything, God has always been central to it. So when you have Malice taking a walk away from the game, you know, this game could be exhausting. And when you think about the shit that they had to go through with their labels in the beginning and stuff, it's like the benefits don't outweigh the troubles that you go through. So like, for him to come back, it's definitely for passion, you know what I mean? And like, you know, he's still nice, man. Like, I love this because there's like guys online and people online who say that older people shouldn't rap and all this shit, but like, we have to have elder statesmen who are still torching shit, you know what I mean? And it's dope to see that, you know what I mean? He came through and he is just as sharp as he's ever been, even sharper, I would say, you know? But Malice has always gave a seriousness, you know? Like with Push, it's like, that's just the fun, you know what I mean? It's like, he's serious too, but like, it's that older brother wisdom and just like that, you know, that regimentation, you know, like I could be a certain way, but then there's like a level of seriousness that my bigger brother has where he's like, yo, you gotta chill with that, you know what I mean? It also provides me a more wise perspective and point of view if we're ever like, you know, going through things, or if he see me do something, he'll pull my coat and just be like, chill, little bro, this is why you gotta be more aware of this or that, you know what I mean? So it's always like a good, interesting dynamic when you hear Malice and Push together. Pharrell's beats are immaculate. The beat for Inglourious Basterds is growing on me, but there's something about hearing perfectly placed DJ Clue ad-libs that make it nostalgically charming the more I listen to it. The interspersed, this is culturally inappropriate soundbite adds energy, and the Ab Liva verse is a perfect match. Nonetheless, the Brothers Thornton managed to deliver standout moments stacked with quotables, emotion, and evolution. What's most impressive is that this isn't Lord Willin' or Hell Hath No Fury. This is Let God Sort 'Em Out, a record made by two men who've lived after the peak. It's not chasing the old feeling at all. It captures what happens after the applause, the awards, and the scars. And it makes you realize how much we've missed the Clipse in that brotherly synergy. This is grown man's hip hop. I don't even know if I would call it coke rap. It's so much more than that. It's not just about the bricks. It's what's left when you've been successful in the game, and just as much as how successful you are to make it out to live to talk about it. So if you've been waiting for the Clipse to drop this kind of album that reaffirms their elite status, that shows maturity without sacrificing menace, this one's for you. Not everyone's gonna get it. For those of us who do, fuck everybody else, let God sort them out. That's my time, y'all. Thank you for watching another episode of Everything for Everybody. Always remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can get the notifications. Whenever I go live, bing, you'll know what's going on. You know what I mean? Right here, boom, you know what I mean? Like, let's get to it. Let's keep this thing going. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.